What up, y'all? It's Melodious. I'm back with another reaction on my hip hop story reaction channel. Today we gonna react to Jimmy Henchman and the G-Unit war. Like, comment, and subscribe. We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's tap in.
My name is Jimmy Henchman of Czar Entertainment.
Who did Henchman want to be? Chris Lighty. Who was we down with? Chris Lighty. Beef is inherited. Stop playing.
50 Cent the rapper, he'll be known as 50 Cent the rapper, and 50 Cent the street legend will be known as 50 Cent the street legend. There's no comparison.
Once you shoot my mom's house up, it's all fair and war. You already know it's gonna go.
Firing real gunshots. Fuck the sound effects. You know what I'm saying? We got bulletproof love for y'all niggas when y'all come through. Real niggas, not no fake ass niggas. Yeah. Real niggas.
Every shooter that Henchman had told on him.
Jimmy, man. See, that's why I don't like them old school man. Now you know Jimmy told him to do that.
But with Henchman, it's always gonna be fuck you. You shot my mom's crib up, nigga.
Right.
Most people think the war between Jimmy Henchman and G-Unit started because of the game, but the reality was more complicated than that. By the time the game fell out with 50 Cent, there was already tension around Jimmy Henchman, G-Unit and the people connected to them. And over the few years that tension would explode into shootings, retaliation attacks, murder allegations, federal investigations and eventually life sentences. This wasn't just rap beef. This became a street war connected to some of the most powerful people in the music industry. To understand it, you first need to understand who Jimmy Henchman was.
This call is from a federal prison.
I'm not proud of nothing that I have done when I was a kid.
Back then when we were kids, it was a time and an area where gentleness was not an ingredient for survival.
It was Brooklyn. You know, violence was at its highest rate.
You had to be alpha or you got eaten.
You know, people was killing each other, man, just to try to eat.
He definitely was not one that was going to be walked on.
Jimmy was a man that respected everybody, but he demanded respect in return.
You either came at him straight or you would want to leave him alone. Jimmy definitely has a bad reputation from his past. We were actually kids. We grew up in the same neighborhood. He was one of our urban legends in the community.
There was a lot of fighting back then.
He had a reputation for, no nonsense.
Everybody used to represent their neighborhood.
The 90s was a time in hip-hop where drug dealing rap really became popular. And I think a lot of artists were surrounding themselves with street guys because it lent credibility to who they were.
Yeah. My name is Jimmy.
Cause I heard like in the beginning of hip hop, like the street guys wasn't the rappers. The street guys funded the rappers. You know what I mean? And the rappers just rapped about what they seen, and they wasn't actually participating in what was going on, and then things changed.
Me Henchman of Czar Entertainment. Henchman is a name that deals with some kind of dark side. People have taken henchman to mean different things. So I kind of felt in order for me to get away from that whole thing, I would change the name. And I did my research on what Tsar meant. And Tsar is a Russian emperor or Russian king or ruler. And I felt that that was something appropriate for the amount of years that I've been in the music business, that I would become a music czar. When you have great artists like Game and you come out with different things like Infamous Time and stuff like that, it became more popular in the streets. A friend of mine's did. He had a guy by the name of R. Kelly, of course, and MGM in Public Announcement. From there, I went on to become a manager for producers. My first hit was Shoot for Salt and Pepper, and the rest was really history. There's so many people that is involved in your success. Shakim, Barry Hankerson, Kadar, gave me a deal over at Motown, in which I put out the Bulletproof Love and the Sharissa album on. And you got guys like Barry Hankerson who allowed me to work closely with him with Aaliyah, and executive produced 2 great soundtracks, Romeo Must Die and Exit Wound. The thing about the music industry is that It isn't a bias industry. You're judged by your ear, and you're judged by the music that you put out there. I try to treat everybody the same because I don't know who the next Tupac really is gonna be. And I don't know who the next Biggie or 50 or even the next Game is gonna be. 50 Cent the rapper, he'll be known as 50 Cent the rapper, and 50 Cent the street legend will be known as 50 Cent the street legend. There's no comparison. To me, that's a great honor to know that I knew that person who influenced that. I'm not living the fantasy of the music business. I need to keep firm on the ground because I don't know when I'm gonna be banned from this game. And I think me being in that pivotal situation has allowed me to sustain, even after doing 5 years in jail, has allowed me to sustain my situation as it is.
I dare you to let me build you a completely
1990s and 2000s, Jimmy Henchman was one of the most feared and connected figures in hip-hop. Officially, he was a music executive. He managed artists, he worked with major labels, he had relationships with some of the biggest rap names.
See, all this about Jimmy Henchman, I never knew. I just knew the street Jimmy Henchman. Didn't know. I heard of the street Jimmy Henchman. Like, I heard about his street stories. I never knew his hip-hop, besides Ja Rule.
But alongside that image were constant rumors about his connections outside the music business. Stories about influence, stories about people being afraid to cross him, stories that suggested Jimmy operated in two different worlds at the same time. One foot in the music industry and one foot somewhere else entirely.
Tupac was there to get robbed. He owed Jimmy Henchman some money.
Tupac was on the phone arguing with somebody, and it was really aggressive. And Tupac was saying, yeah, well, whatever, suck my, fuck you. When you see me, you see me, right? And yeah, I'm gonna pull up. I'm on my way there now, right? So when he hung up the phone, they asked him, yo, who was you on the phone arguing with like that? And he said, some nigga named Jimmy Henchman. And the nigga said, nigga, is you crazy? Do you know who Jimmy Henchman is and what Jimmy Henchman might do to you? And he was like, for real? Like, he said, so do you think I should take a gun? And they was like, nigga, we all gonna need guns going to the studio.
One of the people Jimmy had known for years was Chris Lighty. Lighty was another hugely respected figure in hip-hop. Through Violator management, he helped guide the careers of artists including 50 Cent, Busta Rhymes, and Missy Elliott. For a time, Lighty and Jimmy Henchman were two of the most powerful managers in the business. But as 50 Cent rose to become one of the biggest stars in the world, different camps began forming around different artists. By the early 2000s, G-Unit had become more than just a rap group, it was a movement. 50 Cent, Yayo, Banks, Buck, the G-Unit brand was everywhere. Albums were selling millions, mixtapes dominated the streets, and wherever G-Unit went, conflicts seemed to follow. Ja Rule, Murder Inc., Fat Joe, the list of enemies kept growing. Then came the Game. When he first arrived, the Game looked like a perfect addition to the G-Unit machine. 50 Cent and Dre helped launch his career. His debut album was a massive success. For a brief period, it looked like they would dominate hip-hop together. Instead, it fell apart. By 2005, the Game and 50 Cent were openly at war. Diss tracks were released. Radio interviews turned hostile. DVDs, mixtape.
I ain't even gonna lie, yo. I get real disappointed when I think about what could have been, how it could have went with Game being in G-Unit, and G-Unit just staying everybody that's in there. Like they would have been something crazy if 50 and the Game wouldn't have fell out.
Tapes and magazine interviews kept the feud alive. And standing behind the Game was Jimmy Henchman.
You know how sometimes you're in a situation where anything could spark something to happen. And it was there. It been there.
Kiss has been one of my homeboys from, the early stages of my career on the underground mixtape level. And Fat Joe is a dude who I got love for in the streets.
And I guess the spark was when Game said he didn't have no problem with Nas or or them other guys. That was that spark that I guess that 50 felt was the last straw, and it was time to execute.
I felt like what he was saying was disrespectful on the radio, because everybody that I would have differences with at this point is cool with him.
While Game was overseas, he was hearing things that 50 was saying, and then the Vibe magazine came out.
I ain't been able to conjure up all the things that's been said and what's going on these radio stations, but I guarantee you when I find out, man, I'm gonna make my decision on, what's my next move.
G-Unit is here, 50's here, and Game can be anywhere in between that and probably even bigger than that. And you can't suppress that. You can't suppress that with just G-Unit.
I wanted to be on Dre's level, on Eminem's level, and I wanted to be respected as that. I don't think 50 respected me in that aspect. I think he wanted me to be a G-Unit soldier, which I'm not.
First, most fans saw it as another rap rivalry, but according to late account testimony, something much darker was developing behind the scenes. Then came the incident that changed everything. In March 2007, Jimmy Henchman's 14-year-old son was walking through New York wearing a Czar Entertainment sweatshirt. Czar Entertainment was Henchman's company. According to reports, he was recognized by Tony Yayo and Lowell Lodi Mac Fletcher. The teenager was allegedly slapped and harassed. Tony Yayo was arrested. The story spread across radio stations, blogs, and rap websites.
James Rosemond, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're the son of Jimmy Rosemond,
Yeah.
Czar Entertainment, who has managed some of the best in the business, from The Game to Wyclef to Mike Tyson. You were in the news yourself when you were 14, 6 years ago, when one of 50 Cent's associates assaulted you. He ended up going to jail, and then he was killed once he got out. Your dad was actually indicted this summer for his murder along with some other men.
Yes.
Do you feel that your dad had something to do with this?
To my knowledge, no, because we took the right action and try to put him behind bars, because that unfortunately I was in a situation that I believe I should have been in. I didn't deserve that. Anybody who know me, I'm 14.
You didn't deserve that.
So I'm not the one in the cameras, talking beef, having beef talk, saying F G-Unit or any stuff like that. I didn't deserve that at all.
If you were out and you saw G-Unit and you saw 50 and you saw those guys, Tony Yayo, I mean, do you feel safe now?
Get exclusive Mortal Kombat 2 wallpapers for your PC.
Even before that situation, I've always been paranoid. I feel like the more paranoid you are, the more safe you are, So it's like, if I do see these guys, it's you don't talk to me, I don't talk to you, I'm about my business, I'm gonna go get my money, and hopefully they do the same.
Most people saw it as another ugly movement in the G-Unit and Game feud, but according to prosecutors, Jimmy Henchman saw it differently. For him, this wasn't business, this wasn't music, this was personal. And according to the government's case, he never forgot it. Only weeks later, violence followed. Shots were fired at Tony Yayo's mother's house. More than a dozen of rounds struck through the property.
It was street shit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know what? If I slap your kid, you gonna go all out too. It's the streets. Rules got violated, and it is what it is. But once you shoot my mom's house up, I wish I would've.
Right, because your mom's house got shot up afterwards. Was your mom and your sister in the house?
Nah, my mom's wasn't there. My sister was there.
Your sister
But
was
listen, at the end of the day, when the nigga kid got slapped, right? It's all fair and war. You already know what's gonna go.
Yeah.
For anybody who got kids, I understand how the nigga felt.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, my shit got shot up.
Yeah.
So I didn't, I don't want to get into too much of that, but at the end of the day, if you slap somebody's kids, I expect them to go all the way out, but it is what it is. I had so much ego, 50 just gave me the Bentley. I had the Benz. Like, I'm that nigga. I'm in the streets. Motherfucker, we them niggas, man. We them niggas.
This nigga got a Benz and went and slapped a kid. Hey, yo, be tripping. He tripping.
I had the niggas on deck. Niggas ready to go. Niggas ready to go. When you got money and power, you just feel invincible, man. I feel like at a point in life, I just felt invincible. Even Hip Hop Police told me one day, like, yo, you feel invincible going against Henchman. But it was like, I felt like Henchman sucked my, like, at that point. I don't know. Like, this is the nigga that went against, you know, Pac went against him. Pac called him a rat. And niggas in the industry was still, like, fucking with him. You know what I'm saying? So, I just feel like, yo, Henchman came to me and said Sock Passe, and Game was talking mad shit. Game wasn't there.
Yeah, Game wasn't there, you're right.
But I'm gonna keep it real. We had, I could say it now, because there's no, I'll say it, you know, niggas had the things in there. Like, we was ready to go.
There's a lot of tension that
Listen,
night.
we was
That night.
we had it in there. And you know, I had some knuckleheads with me, Maserati Fox.
Rest in peace.
You know, rest in peace. I had Monster with me. I had a couple of niggas that was, you know, I had my man Big Kev with me, did like 20 years. So it's like, when I seen Henchman, and you know, my ego was like, at the time I said, like, my ego, sometimes I was in the wrong. But with Henchman, it's always gonna be, you shot my mom's crib up, nigga.
Fortunately, nobody was injured, but the message was obvious. The conflict had moved beyond music. Over the following months and years, stories continued to surface involving G-Unit associates. There were reports of threats, reports of intimidation, and allegations that people connected to G-Unit were being targeted. One incident frequently discussed involved Tony Yayo's Bentley being shot at.
But my car, nobody ever got shot in my vehicle.
Got it. I'm not saying that.
My car had big ass holes.
I'm just saying it was a mess after that award show. It was a mess. That's my point.
Of course, it was cool.
Whether every story was true or not, one thing was clear. People around G-Unit believed they were under pressure.
Henchman and them niggas supposed to come through, and I guess they gun jammed, but we had God on that side, and they backed out on the hit, but we had straps too, and that really was it. Nobody seen them. They so-called was following a car. I don't know which car, because there was like 3-4 different cars. In every car, you know, nobody was really traveling light. So if you would have shot, you know, I'm quite sure somebody would have shot back, but you got a silencer, so that would probably give you the up. But I guess they didn't know how to handle a weapon or something like that. It's in the paperwork. And the gun went off in the car. So as the gun went off in the car, I guess it jammed, and they backed out of what they wanted to do. So, you know, God is good. I guess God was on our side at that time.
Years later, 50 Cent would openly claim that multiple attempts had been made to target both him and people close to him. Publicly, however, fans still focused on the rap side of the feud. The Game continued releasing music, 50 Cent continued taking shots at rivals. The beef remained one of the biggest stories in hip-hop, but according to federal prosecutors, revenge had now become the driving force behind what was happening. One person in particular became a target. Lowell Lodi Mac Fletcher. Lodi Mac wasn't a rapper, he was a close G-Unit associate from Queens. And according to prosecutors, Jimmy Henchman believed that Fletcher played the role in the assault on his son. For the next 2 years, tensions remained high. Then came September 2009, the event that would eventually destroy Jimmy Henchman's life. On September the 27th, Lodi Mac was in the Bronx. According to prosecutors, he was contacted by people he believed he would trust. He was allegedly lured into a location under false pretenses. Once there, he was ambushed. Lodi Mac was shot multiple times and killed. At first, it appeared to be another unsolved New York murder, but investigators eventually began connecting the killing to a long-running feud between Jimmy Henchman and G-Unit. According to federal prosecutors, the murder was an act of revenge for the assault on Henchman's son 2 years earlier.
Because your man did a year and then got killed when he came out.
Yeah, the actual hitman it's all documented. Like, you could look it up, so I don't want to seem like I'm dry snitching. It's like, if you read Jimmy Henchman case, all this is documented. But the hitman was actually in jail with my friend. So he befriended him in jail. And then when he got home, that's the same hitman that was his friend in jail. It was the actual hitman. All the dudes
how f***ed up is that?
I mean, it just tells you, know, anybody will do anything for the money. You know what I'm saying? I had money on my head plenty of times. Like, when I was locked up on the island, I heard money on my head. I had so-called money on my head in the street. You know what I'm saying? You know, 50 so-called had money on his head. Everybody is just a part of, you know, fucking with 50 Cent and being a part of G-Unit. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. You live and you learn. That's why when I see these rap beefs, I know how serious it can get.
The investigation took years. But while investigators were looking into the murder, Jimmy Henchman had another major problem. Federal authorities were already investigating him for drug trafficking. Prosecutors accused him of operating a large cocaine distribution network while maintaining his public image as a music executive. The allegations shocked many people in the music industry. The same man who had managed artists and negotiated deals was now being described by the government as the head of a criminal organization.
Trust me, it ain't shocked them. They just pretended like they shocked them. It didn't shock them. Ain't no way they were shocked about Jimmy Henchman.
As the investigation continued, prosecutors began identifying the people they believe were involved in Lodi Mac's murder. One by one, people connected to the case began cooperating. One of the most important figures was Khalil Abdullah. According to a court testimony, Abdullah played a role in helping set up the events that allowed Lodi Mac to be targeted. Facing serious charges himself, Abdullah eventually agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. Then there were Brian McLeod. According to the government, McLeod was one of the men directly involved in carrying out the killing. Faced with spending the rest of his life in prison, he agreed to cooperate. There was also Henry Butler and various other associates. Together, these witnesses gave prosecutors exactly what they needed: insiders, people who had allegedly been involved, people who could describe what happened from the inside. For years, Jimmy Henchman had built a reputation as someone nobody would ever testify against. Now former associates were taking the stand one after another. The government case was no longer on rumours or on the rap world.
I've represented some people that the government would move mountains to convict. The stuff that happened in Jimmy Rosemont's case was by far the worst.
And he said I could help you go home with the time that I had left. 18 years.
With Jimmy's case, I had personal knowledge of what the witnesses were saying. Witnesses in that case not only lied, but the government knew that they lied.
All of the money and the drugs that they had in the courtroom, none of that belonged to me. But because of the testimony, they put it on me.
Clearly, you couldn't reach a conclusion as to Jim's guilt or innocence based on anything other than the cooperator testimony.
Talk about an unholy triumvirate of disgusting, slimy, scumbag witnesses.
You got a guy like Henry Butler, whose wife was arrested with machine guns, pills, heroin, cash, weed, and cocaine.
No, I love my wife when I love anybody. So whatever I had to deal with to get her off, at the end of the day, that's what I had to do.
These were the tools they used to make Henry Butler say that he sold me hundreds of kilos.
I asked him, why is you doing it? He just told me, man, they gave me an offer. They're going to send me and my wife home. Why don't you do it? And I saw Tony Martin and Tess. They pretty much told me the same situation.
These people have a motive to slant their testimony.
Henry Butler ain't a stupid guy. He says, I should have been the kingpin. But they wanted Jimmy so bad, he became the kingpin.
Honestly, if I wouldn't do what I did, I would have been the kingpin in this case because I was in L.A. and I was the people who was really selling everybody's drugs.
The play was, when you get up there and I ask you a question, say it's Jimmy.
Teff was working for the government. It couldn't be more obvious that he was trying to get me to say something on tape that would get me disqualified. They're sending people in to get a lawyer indicted?
Jeffrey Lichtman would have beat the shit out of these guys if they would have allowed me to have him as my person.
I'd been down this road before with high-profile clients. I knew how to win these cases.
Lichtman knew the case. He knew what the government was trying to do. He knew the players that were testifying against me.
I never thought for a second that we would lose that trial.
It was strategic on the prosecutor's part to knock Lichtman off of the case.
They completely lied about the meeting with Henry Butler. Even though I left of my own volition, I was disqualified. Finally, the prosecutor says, look, of course you didn't promise to give him money to help him hire a lawyer, but we know that if you're Jimmy's lawyer, he's never going to plead guilty. He's going to fight the case to trial. And we had to get rid of him. And I remember thinking, like, this is America?
It was being built using testimonies from people prosecutors claimed had participated in the conspiracy themselves. The first major murder trial began in 2014. The government laid out its case. Witnesses testified, The defense attacked the credibility of cooperating witnesses. After weeks of testimony, the jury failed to reach a unanimous decision. The result was a hung jury. For a moment, it looked like Jimmy Henchman might avoid conviction, but prosecutors weren't finished. A second trial was scheduled, and this time the government case was stronger. More evidence was presented, the timeline was rebuilt, witness testimony was reinforced. The prosecution argued that the murder had been ordered as revenge for what happened to Henchman's son in 2007. After hearing the evidence, the jury reached a verdict. Jimmy Henchman was found guilty. A man who had once been one of the most powerful figures in hip-hop had been convicted of murder for hire conspiracy. The sentencing followed soon after. The judge handed down a life sentence. Combined with his other federal convictions, it effectively guaranteed that Jimmy Henchman would spend the rest of his life in prison. Years of appeals followed. His legal team challenged parts of the case. Arguments were made regarding witnesses and evidence, but the convictions remained in place.
Call is from a federal prison.
I got 20 years for money laundering. I got 10 years for obstruction of justice. I got 5 years for the machine gun. I got 10 years for a firearm they found in Los Angeles. They sentenced me to 7 life sentences.
You, just you, building your app on Base 44.
For Trump.
7 life sentence? That's crazy.
Could you imagine me and El Chapo have the same drug charge? Todd Kaminsky created this case. He created an atmosphere for these guys to want to set me up. These guys believed that if I got arrested, that their problem would be over with. They force-fed these people evidence that wasn't validated by anything. Their freedom all hinged on how they performed on that stand against me. These guys are all home with their family and enjoying the fruits of their drug proceeds. Y'all have nothing except these guys' testimony. I was always gonna be the fall guy.
Looking back now, what makes this story so remarkable is how far it escalated. Most beefs end up with diss tracks. Some end up with lawsuits. This one ended up with murder trials, federal investigations, and a life sentence. What began as tensions between powerful industry figures eventually became something much darker. An assault on a teenager, a retaliation shooting, years of threats and intimidation, the murder of Loaded Mac, federal investigations, former associates turning government witnesses, and finally, life imprisonment.
I want to apologize. I want to apologize to the massive for letting these sucker ass catch me out there like that. I talk about suckers, I'm talking about those who perpetrated to be either my friend, who were wearing wiretaps, who got on the stand and lied. Man, I want to apologize to those that I let down for letting some suckers play me. And I just want you to know, man, that I didn't know. I just didn't know that these dudes was that jealous. That jealousy would allow them or make them do the things that they did. And it's almost like a sucker killed me, man. It's like I let a sucker come down on me, man, and beat me up and kill me. This is the same feeling. It's almost like it's parallel together. And so I want to apologize to all those who have lost their life, dedicated their life to the game. I want to apologize to you for what I allowed to happen to me. I'm very sorry. Trust you me.
Brian McLeod to kill Llewellyn Fletcher. You know, one of the things that I did ask Brian McLeod to do was I asked him to bring Fletcher or Yayo to me. So took it upon himself and he killed Llewellyn Fletcher. So here's the most important thing out of this whole thing. I'm not the murderer here. The murderer in this whole situation is home. All he had to do was point the finger at me, and he went home. And I'm in jail for life when I never hired him to kill anyone. So, you know,
Jimmy the Rat.
I'm glad that it was overturned. I'm happy. It's hopefully that, you know, I won't have to go back to trial.
For many fans, the game vs. G-Unit was a public feud. It was the part they could see. You know, the interviews, the records, the diss tracks. But underneath it all was another war, a much more dangerous one. The war between Henchman and G-Unit. And unlike most hip-hop rivalries, this one didn't end when the music stopped. It ended in federal court. And for Jimmy Henchman, it ended behind bars for the rest of his life.
Yup. Dang. So yeah, make sure y'all go subscribe to I think it's called the Hip Hop Files that did that documentary. I think the biggest reason why
if something's free, people
50 Cent was able to walk away from this, you know, and on a different path than Jimmy is because Jimmy was still in the streets. You know what I mean? There became a point where 50 Cent had left the street life alone, you know. So I think that was the biggest difference. And, you know, but I'm out, y'all. Peace.